Welcome to the Let's Get Vulnerable podcast. It's your host, Dr. Morgan. Today's episode, we are talking about one of the most important topics for a healthy relationship, and that is the slow burn. We're going to talk about slowing down your emotional investment and relationship pacing. I know that so many of you have had this experience where you invest too quickly, you're all in, you're head over heels, you're going, oh my gosh, I met my person, it's finally happened. And you're just 100 miles an hour in the 25 zone, and then you end up getting really hurt. So this episode will be really helpful for those of you who have had the tendency of over investing too quickly, because ultimately slowing down your emotional investment, this is a real solid strategy for building secure attachment. And I know if you've been listening to this podcast, you know we have to build the securely attached foundation. So by slowing down your investment, you're helping yourself do that. Before we get into today's episode, I just want to remind you this is an incredible time to join us inside of the Empowered, Secure, Loved program. We do have super limited spots. If you haven't heard already, I want to make sure you know this is the last time that we're offering the program in its current format. All good things come to an end. Man, we've helped over 700 women with the program, and it's so incredible to think about. And what I've realized is that in order to help even more people, I will be making some adjustments. I'm working behind the scenes. And with that in mind, this is the last time that you can join the program in its current format. So if you're someone where you know that you really want to benefit from one-on-one support, then I would highly encourage you to apply now. You can use the link in the show notes. It's super easy application process. And obviously I would love to help you rewire your brain and become securely attached. All right, let's get into today's episode, shall we? So here's the deal. Do you know this? When you are in the early stages of a relationship, there is research that backs this up, that the state that your brain goes into is much like that of someone who is addicted to drugs. Okay. There is the dopamine that's happening, those high releases of dopamine, and then the craving for the connection. It is incredibly easy to find yourself in a place where you had every intention of going slowly, of getting to know the person, but you find yourself going way too fast and overly investing emotionally, and partly because of what your brain is doing. We have the neuroscience research to back this up, that we know that your brain goes into this drug addicted state. So it's even more important to think about relationship pacing, to intentionally turn on your prefrontal cortex, the logical part of your brain, so that we can slow down your emotional investment. So when we rush in to a relationship, okay, what's happening? When we rush in, for a lot of us, we do so because it feels so good. And we have this almost fantasy narrative. Our brain fills in the dots, right? It fills in the empty spaces, the things that we don't know about the person. Our brain will fill that in, and we'll have this whole beautiful narrative about what the relationship's going to be like, what our future is like, who this person really is. And it's not based on data. This is why I talk about being the love scientist, gathering the data, because you can go and create this fantasy version of someone. And then, okay, so let's say you're doing that. Maybe you've been dating this person for 2 weeks. You filled in all the blanks. It's this fantasy relationship. You haven't actually gathered the data. Maybe you haven't had the actual conversations you need to have to really know about this person and their values and if you're compatible. And then now that you have this fantasy idea of who this person is, it creates this sense of false intimacy and safety. So it's safety that you've created because of rushing, because of how quickly you're emotionally investing, because of wanting it so bad. And I have so much empathy, right? Like, you've been dating forever. You just want to find your person already, and you so want it to work, right? So you want it so, so bad. But then it creates this false intimacy. It creates this level of security. I think of it as a house of cards, right? It's a relationship that is not built on a rock solid foundation. So obviously this is very, very likely to fall apart. And this is why I tell you, you are going to do yourself such a favor if in the early stages of dating, you can slow it down. We need you to gather the data. What are the things I want you to be thinking about? I want you to think about, does this person do what they say they're going to do? If they say they're going to pick me up at 6 o'clock, do they come at 6 o'clock? Do they cancel at 5:30? Do they tell me that, oh gosh, work is so busy, I'm not going to be able to do it? Or do they show up, right? Do they do what they say they're going to do? The other thing I want you curious about, do they feel emotionally available? What does it feel like in your body? Can your nervous system relax in their presence? Do you feel that they are attuned to you, that they're curious about you, that they want to know, what are you thinking? What are you feeling? What are your needs? Is this person genuinely curious about you? That's very, very important. So what does it feel like in your body? Do they feel emotionally available? Obviously, I also want you finding out, do you want the same things? Do you want to build the same kind of relationship? Obviously, if we have someone who is really comfortable with polyamory, and let's say they want to have a polyamorous relationship, and then you have someone else who wants to be monogamous and they see themselves building this type of lifestyle, those things are not going to be compatible. You can have two wonderful, emotionally available people, but if they want to build a different type of relationship, they're not going to be compatible, right? And this comes down to lifestyle, values. Where do you see yourself in 5 to 10 years? What do you want your life to look like? Do you have some of the same priorities, right? One person who wants to live out of a van and travel the world is going to be very different from the person who, let's say, wants to move to the country and live in a modern farmhouse and focus on financial stability and building generational wealth. Those are two vastly different lifestyles. Neither is right or wrong, but you want to be with someone where those things align. And when you are emotionally investing really quick, you're going all in, you are doing the deep dive early on, right? And saying, this is my person, this is it. It blinds you from gathering the data that you need to gather. It does. The other thing is that I want you to think about, how does this person respond to things that come up in our relationship? How are they responding to conflict? Can we navigate conflict in a really healthy way? How do they react when they've had a really difficult week at work? Are they able to still prioritize me as their partner, right? How do they respond when we're stuck in traffic and we're 35 minutes late to dinner? How do they respond to that? There's so much data that you need to gather on a person to know, okay, I feel emotionally safe. I feel like this person is emotionally available. I know that they can navigate conflict really well. I know that when they get upset, they don't turn into someone who's completely emotionally dysregulated and takes everything out on me, right? But they're someone who can navigate the things that happen in life. You want to gather that data to know that, okay, if I'm emotionally investing, if I'm committing to you, I know that it's emotionally safe. I think about this. I think about ROIE. I talk about this in my book, in Love Magnet. This is a really important concept. ROIE, return on energy investment. Return on energy investment. So just like you would think about the stock market, right? You're investing in stocks where you want to get a financial ROI, a return on investment. Same with relationships. You want to gather the data, know that there's a strong, securely attached foundation, knowing that when you're investing in this relationship, it's a good investment. It's a relationship that can grow. It's a relationship that has a strong, solid foundation. Otherwise, you're wasting your valuable energy. And I don't want that for any of you. When you waste your valuable energy on the wrong relationships, it messes with your dating mindset. It messes with your ability to make yourself available for the right people. It can obviously impact your mental health, right? That's why this beginning stage, the gathering data stage, is so important. And it's so important for you to go slowly so that you're not blind, right? You want to be able to gather all the data. Okay. As I was saying that, I was thinking about, and then we have reality TV to show us, right? Like Love is Blind, this latest season, which you guys know I love to talk about, that there were so many connections that these people were all in. But remember, it's a short amount of time. It's deep emotional investment really, really quickly. And yeah, I think there was at least one couple where, okay, they got really lucky and it worked out. But there's so many others where we see it play out. There's things that they didn't know about each other. There's things that they didn't know how they were going to handle them in real life. There's family dynamics that once those were involved, clearly were a huge barrier to a healthy relationship, right? Like, there's just so much that we can't know about someone unless we're taking our time and we're slowing it down. So I want to remind you of this. The slow burn is sexy. It is a sexy, sexy way to grow a relationship. It means that you're being intentional. Being intentional is hot. We want people who are showing up really intentionally and kind of training your brain to go, oh, I could approach this the way I've always approached it, where I'm rushing in and I'm overly emotionally investing. But look where that's gotten me. So maybe I deserve to slow it down. And I want to encourage you with this before I wrap this up. Secure attachment moves slowly because it's careful, it's kind, and it's also not codependent and not fear-based. So securely attached emotional investment takes its time because the person with secure attachment, they have high self-worth, they value themselves, they also really, really value their other relationships, their time with themselves, right? They're not looking to get codependent with you. They're not wanting to let go of everything that they have in their life and just throw it away to be in this deep, deep, intimate relationship with you. So secure attachment takes time. It's intentional. And that slow burn means this. It means that the relationship gets to be deeply intimate. It gets to be passionate. You get to feel the fireworks. You get to feel the chemistry, but it takes more time to build. That's what it is. And for those of you that are accustomed to the whirlwind romance, the saying I love you after 3 days, right? The, hey, let's fly to Paris tomorrow together. I literally had a conversation with a client where she was telling me, yeah, this one person that I dated, They wanted to take me to Paris like 2 days into the relationship. If you are accustomed to that kind of whirlwind, it's going to take some retraining of your brain to realize, oh, I don't need to feel those fireworks early on. And actually, if I do, if I feel that crazy spark or that magnetic energy, that can actually be a sign that something is off, right? When we have the avoidant, anxious dynamic or disorganized, any of the insecure styles, when they are starting the relationship early on, it's going to feel like fireworks. It's going to feel crazy magnetic, right? And that's not necessarily a good thing. You want to have this feeling of, oh, I like this person. I like being in their presence. I'm genuinely curious about them. And I think I'd like to see them again. That's a healthy sign of attraction if you are doing the slow burn and you're approaching dating in a securely attached way. So I hope this episode was helpful. I think so many of us need to be reminded of this. And once again, I want you to practice taking your time. And if you're struggling with it, remember, if you find yourself getting overly emotionally invested, maybe, you're imagining the wedding after date number 4, just as an example, I want you to remind yourself, wait, I deserve to take my time. I deserve to gather the data. Okay, so remember, secure is sexy. The slow burn is hot. You get to take your time because that is what builds that rock solid, secure foundation. And of course, if you need help, you know where to get it. We have limited spots available. The Empowered, Secure, Loved program is accepting applications. And all you have to do, go to the link in the show notes and apply there. It takes 5 minutes. And I'm cheering you on. This is the time to do the work. If you've been putting it off, this is the time. Okay. You deserve it. You so deserve it. When you heal internally, everything else in your life changes and your dating life gets really fun and really easy. Okay, y'all, I'm sending you so much love. And of course, as always, I'm wishing you high self-worth and great relationships. I'll talk to you soon.